Okay, that's better.
Okay, the recording has started. So whenever you, whenever it turns over to 10:00, I will say hello, and then we'll just turn it over to you.
Okay, and I'm counting on you to watch the chat
Okay, will do.
if there's comments and questions. Okay.
Sounds good. Well, it is 10 o'clock, and so
Perfect.
welcome everyone to our MSL Learn webinar series for May 9th, 2023. I'm so excited that Pam Henley is going to be sharing with us her wisdom around basic training for trustees. So Pam, take it away.
Thanks, Cole. We have our cute little pictures up there, just so you know who's talking. Let's move on because we don't need to see too many of those pictures. I know that as trustees, sometimes it's just really overwhelming when you become a trustee. You don't always know, don't even know what's involved. Sometimes it's just, oh, your friend said, oh, come be a trustee because the library is really fun. And you say, great, that'd be wonderful. I like the library. And then you find out there's so much more involved to being a trustee on the library. So we're going to go through some of the things that might be helpful just to get you situated and set up a little bit, and perhaps as not as overwhelmed as you might feel at first. So one of my first suggestions is get to know the library. If you aren't a library user, and this happens a lot, that trustees want to be on the library board because they're involved in this in the community, but they don't actually use the library. So you might want to just get to know the library a little bit. Go to the library building. It's kind of surprising how many trustees are actually not library users themselves. So if you're a trustee, you might want to set foot in the building, learn your way around the building a little bit, see what's going on there. If the library has a website, and most of them do, you want to maybe explore the website, because some of the library websites will really have lots of information on there. You get to see some of the programs that are offered, some of the services that are offered. Usually you can find out what's going on every day in the library. So explore the website. See what programs they have, what things you can access if you have a library card. So, and I hope as a trustee you get a library card, even if you didn't have one before. That way you can try out some of the services that are available that need your library card for logging in. Get to know the director. If you haven't been using the library, maybe you don't know the director. And it's a really good idea to get to know the director and your fellow trustees. The director, I would like to think, could offer to give you a tour of the building, introduce you to some of the staff so you know who's working in the library building, and find out what other people are doing, what are their interests, because you're going to be working with your fellow trustees for quite some time. You know, you have a 5-year term. Some of them have been on maybe even longer. They might be into their second term, because you can have up to 2 5-year terms as a trustee. So it's a good idea to get to know these people that you're going to be working with quite a bit, just to build these relationships. Find out what they do away from the library. What's their day-to-day job? What kind of family do they have? Where did they come from? That kind of stuff. Just get to know those people. And that's a really good way to get started, so you feel like you're involved in something and get to know these people. Then you're going to be going to meetings quite a bit. So the first thing would be, where, when, and where are the meetings? They're not always at the library. Usually they are, but sometimes something happens and it has to be somewhere else. Usually boards meet monthly, but not all of them do. So some in the smaller towns, sometimes they meet every other month or not as regularly, but you want to know when are the meetings and where are they? And how soon are the meeting materials available, and what kind of materials can you expect? Usually there's a director's report, there should be a financial report. Sometimes in larger libraries, there's different department reports. Lots of, and the minutes from previous meetings, the agenda, all that kind of material is available. When is that available? Most libraries have that available a week before the meeting, but you want to find out. And how do you get to them? A lot of libraries have these things that they send out to you through email. They might post them online somewhere. They might just be posted at the library, but you'll want to know where and when you're going to be able to access them. Because as a trustee, it's really important for you to be prepared. So you need to read all these things ahead of time and come to the meeting prepared. It's really discouraging if you're in a meeting with other trustees and they're asking questions about things that are already answered in minutes or the reports, and that's a waste of people's time, and that's very discouraging for the rest of the board. So be prepared and find out how you can get to these materials. A lot of places are using things like Dropbox or Google Forms where you need to have a little bit of an account or have access set up for you, so you'll want to make sure that that's done. And as Colette said, if you have questions along the way, don't hesitate to just jump in with a question. So after you figure out where your meetings are and when they are, some things you might want to be learning about or becoming familiar with is finance. That's a big part of the trustee duties, is the whole financial side of the library and the budget. Do you know where the library gets its money? There are a couple sources that libraries have for money: local budgeting, local funding, state funding like state aid and federation money, and other sources the library might have. So you'll want to find out, where is the money coming from? And who creates the library budget and how is that done? In most communities, if you're a city or a county, you're working with those entities as part of their larger budget, and you prepare a budget and it gets submitted to them and gets approved, but the board usually approves the library's budget and as part of the whole process. So you'll want to be familiar with, how is this done? A lot of times the director or the staff create the budget and the board reviews it and goes over it, but you'll want to be familiar with that. And who does the library's accounting and paying the bills, whatever else goes on there? I've seen some boards where the board signs and approves all the payments, and other boards don't do it that way because it's handled by the city or the county. So you'll want to learn this whole process and find out how that works. And then we get to the part that really overwhelms a lot of trustees, is the various legal responsibilities. And there are a lot of legal responsibilities that the board has that most people don't realize. If you read the Montana Code Annotated, the section about public libraries, and oh, I should have put the actual code numbers in here, that'd be helpful. It specifically outlines what the Board of Trustees is responsible for and what they do. So you'll want to read through that part. And I always thought, oh, the code annotated is so difficult, but it's not that difficult to read. It's pretty straightforward. So you'll want to read that part and become familiar with the open meeting law, because libraries and trustees and boards do need to follow the open meeting laws. Oh, thank you, Colette, for putting that in there, because that's a really helpful page to have for the code. And another one is the Library Records Confidentiality Act. A lot of libraries put a link to that on their website because library records are confidential. So you need to be aware of that, so that you can't, so you're not violating patron privacy and library records. And if someone comes to the library and says, oh, did so-and-so check out this book? It's like, no, you can't really tell them that. You have to wait and have a subpoena or something like that for that information to be given out. There's a process to go through. And the other thing to kind of be aware of is the different responsibilities between the director and the trustee. We always like to say that the trustees govern and the director manages. So the trustees oversee, the larger picture, the bigger aspects of the library, and the director handles the day-to-day management of the library. A lot of this, oh, and Colette, this would be a really good one to put in. Or actually, I have this link. We have some resources. Oh, maybe you put that on here. Yes, you did. That's exactly the link I was going to put in, the library development, the board development link on the library website has links to 2 different manuals, and we're working on updating some of these. We have a library administration manual, and we also have a trustee manual that we're working on that has lots and lots of information in it. And I would really encourage trustees to read through both of those because they'll answer lots of these questions and give you lots of information. We also suggest that maybe at a board meeting, it's good to go through a section of each of these just a little bit at a time so that it's not totally overwhelming and everybody gets the information as things go along. Some towns and I don't know about counties or not, but sometimes there's some ethics training. I know the state has a really good ethics training, and local cities may have a little ethics training requirement that'll come along too. So kind of being aware of the ethics involved in the job of what you're talking to people about and who you're talking to, and what can you accept for gifts or not. That's always a question that comes up at the library, especially around the holidays. People like to drop off things to the library or want to give something to the library. Well, can people accept gifts for the library or not? That's all in the ethics. So that's something else to look at that most people don't think about really, but it's a good thing to know about. So as a trustee, now that you've gotten to know people at the library, you've been to the building, you've looked around, you know a little bit about what's going on, focus your initial efforts on what's going on immediately now. Is it budget time? Are they working on the budget? Is it time to review some policies? We kind of suggest that, maybe at every meeting, 1 or 2 of the policies get reviewed so that over the year, you've kind of looked at all the different policies that the library has, because the trustees are the ones who approve the policies. So you'll want to be familiar with the different policies that the library is using. Those are usually linked on a website also, or certainly they have them at the library, sometimes in a notebook or a manual, but a lot of times they are listed or linked on a website too, so you can see them and everybody can see the policies. Is that something that they're working on? Is the building having issues as you were walking around the building when you were looking at it? Did you notice some things that, oh, we need to replace this, or this is going to have to be worked on? How are you going to plan for that? We also like to suggest that there's some planning going on, so you're thinking about the future. We offer some strategic planning help if a library wants to look at that, to think about what do they want to work on next. It kind of gives you a little bit of a roadmap or some ideas of what to be working towards in the future. So those are things to focus on now. Not everything out there, you don't have to do it all at once, but focus on the immediate issues that are coming up of, oh, what are they doing now? So that you can be familiar with that. So, and you could be reading through the manual, if it's budget time, you can read through that section in the trustee manual or the administration manual, or if it's planning, then you can focus on that. And as more things come along, then you'll be a little familiar with it and more ready to do something on the next step. So the important thing to remember, just because it is pretty overwhelming at first if you're not familiar with any of this, is that you're not alone all by yourself. The state library, when we have the consulting services that we offer, and we'll help with some training, we'll helping with planning, any questions that you have. There are the 6 federations in the state, and each federation has a consultant and a federation coordinator, and those are people you can certainly ask questions if you have help. If you need help, have any specific questions, reach out to us at the state or the federation coordinator in the federation. The federations meet. Some of them meet twice a year in person. Some of them meet once a year in person and once a year online. But that's a really good place to go to meet some other trustees in your area. We really encourage trustees to come to those meetings in person. There's usually a training at the meeting, so that helps you get the training requirement that's in the standards now. But it's also just a really good way to socialize and network and find out what are other trustees doing, what are some of the libraries working on, what are some issues that have come up, how have they dealt with anything that maybe is coming up for you also. So federations are a really good way to get involved with just a small group of people. It's not everyone across the state, it's more regional and more local for you, and we really encourage that involvement. The Montana Library Association is another really good resource. They have a special trustee membership rate, so it's not as expensive as library staff. And we're also developing a trustee interest group that's going to meet online. So I'll send out more information about that pretty soon, just so that trustees from around the state can kind of visit with each other and talk and have a little training if we want to, or answer some questions. It's just a really good kind of networking social thing to do. So those are things to keep in mind and look for. Ask your library director if you need some information about what federation are you and who are some other people in the federation. They can give you all that information. So some things to think about, a healthy, effective board is thinking towards the future, not going back over old issues. It's like, oh, we've taken care of this and let's move forward. And like I had said earlier, as a trustee, it's really helpful to, first of all, participate and be prepared for the meeting and contribute to the meeting so that the meetings can be productive. And a big thing for trustees is to really be advocates for the library as just around town, as you're out and about, kind of promoting the library. It's a really nice, and I think your director would appreciate this too, if when it's budget time and there has to be a budget presentation at a city or county meeting, if some from the board come along, it's not a bad idea to just attend local city county meetings once in a while so that you kind of are there and can get to be known by city and county officials instead of just showing up when you want something, so that you're seen as just a participant in the whole community and not just showing up at the county meeting was to ask for money or ask for something else. So it's good to be there more often. And trustees really work on future development of the library because we want to keep moving the library forward.
Pam, there's a
Yes.
question from Janet in the chat. If a board member contacts a director with a quote, the board wants you to do something, end quote. My understanding is a single board member cannot do that, especially if it concerns spending money, publishing for bids, etc. Does this not have to be voted on by the whole board? So how do you deal with those situations where there's a single board member asking that of a director?
That is a really good question. And something to keep in mind is that the board works as a whole. It's not the individual people. The individual board members can discuss and talk about, bring ideas and, and work that way. But the board as a whole is just one entity. So you're right. You're not you're not working with a single board member. So if they have an idea, they would bring it to a meeting. It would be on an agenda. It could be discussed and talked about, and then the board as a whole would make that decision and move forward from there. And that's something else for trustees to remember, is that once a decision is made, everybody needs to support it. Even if you didn't like it, you need to just move forward with that and just agree that this is the decision that the board as a whole made. So does that answer your question, Janet? It is the whole board, it's not an individual person. Yes, they don't want to listen. Sometimes that happens. Individuals don't always want to hear, but it does need to be decided at a board meeting. It's not an individual. Oh,
There's another kind of related question,
mm-hmm.
and maybe you can touch on open meeting law a little bit with this too. How much time should trustees plan to spend on getting ready for meetings each month, and then what has to happen in those public meetings?
I don't think it should take a lot of time to get ready for a meeting. You read the previous minutes, you've looked at the agenda, so you know what's coming. Any reports that come out, different libraries do it a little bit differently. Sometimes there's just a brief little director's report. Sometimes there's a report from each department, but that shouldn't take you a lot of time to read those and prepare for that. So I don't think there's too much involved in that. The thing to remember also is the open meeting law, that if you're going to have a quorum of people together, 3 trustees traveling to a meeting, you want to post that as a notice that the trustees are meeting. And if it's a thing like a training or they're attending a conference, you can just post that and say no business will be conducted. You want to be transparent. I think that's the thing to remember is, you want to be transparent about what the board is doing so that members of the public don't feel like the board is doing things, in secret or behind their back, because, the public library is a public entity with spending public funding. So you want to be transparent about what you're doing. And that's a really good link that you have in there about the open meeting laws. So
Yeah, and I think that that will really help. I do want to just note that we heard yesterday that there was an update in the last legislature to those open meeting laws, and so just know that we'll keep you posted if there are any changes that would affect trustee meetings based on that change. So something for everybody to be aware of, but open meetings and those requirements for any business that's conducted on behalf of the public are something that's really important for trustees to be aware of.
right, I was going to mention that too, that we will be watching whatever changes are coming out of the legislature about that. And because it's smaller, library boards are, 5 people. It may or may not. It might depend on the size of the town that things are in. I did have something else in my head right now I was going to mention, and I forgot. Oh, there was a question about, do subcommittees of a board, like maybe you have a finance committee or maybe you have a little committee working on policies, they need to also take minutes at these meetings so that you have you have minutes of what was going on. And I hadn't really been aware of that either. We thought, oh, subcommittees don't really need to record that kind of thing, but it's not a bad idea to do that too. And the meetings need to be posted at a place where people can find out information about them. Sometimes it's just a bulletin board somewhere if you're in a really small town and you don't have have a big website or an online presence, but you want to put information about when your meetings are, and you want the agendas posted and have minutes available so people can read it. You want all that information out there. And I think that's probably everything I had. Yeah, we can, if there's any other questions, any more information. I did mention the trustee interest group that is going to be, online Zoom meetings a couple times a year or every other month. We're also going to be working on developing another newsletter, like the other newsletters you can subscribe to from the State Library, like Cole's CE newsletter and Amelia's Lifelong Learning newsletter. We're going to put together a newsletter that trustees could subscribe to also, with information about things of interest to trustees. That was a suggestion a trustee had at a last Federation meeting, and we thought that was a really good idea. So keep watching for that. If people are subscribed to the Wired listserv, I think that's a good idea to get information on. The other thing is also just to make sure that you have your information in Aspen up to date, so at least your library director can keep that information up to date, because that's where we usually get information about how we can email trustees and how can we contact them, is the information that's available in Aspen. So we like to have that as current and up to date as possible. Any other questions? Thank you, Colette, for posting all those really good links in the chat.
We'll add those to the description in this event in Aspen, and then we'll also include them when we post the recording in the YouTube channel. And if you have a question and you'd rather speak up, we're happy to hear those in your own voice and in your own way.
So Colette, you have this great slide with all sorts of information on it also, of where people can learn about things.
Yeah, so and some of these I've added the links in the chat already. Visit those great resources on this MSL website. I put the link to look at the newsletters that come out from the agency, as well as the link on that page to subscribe. We have a great help desk. Pam mentioned how important it is to update information, contact information in Aspen. And so if you have any issues with that, we encourage you to put in a help desk ticket to resolve any of those. I shared a link to the Aspen events calendar. That's where you find out about meetings and continuing education opportunities, be able to register for that. I did want to mention really quickly that we have 2 courses available in MSL Learn, which is our online course platform, that are specifically for trustees and really expand on the themes and the topics that Pam was talking about today. So check that out. I'll put the link to that here in just a second. We will have the recording from this session in the MSL YouTube channel. We have more than 90 subscribers now, so subscribe, that's where you can find recordings for all kinds of things that inform you and also allow you to see the work of the State Library Commission. And then I'll also put the link to the MSL staff directory. So we've got lots of ways to stay in touch, but these are really important to make sure that you know how to get a hold of us or get directly to the information you need. We are doing these 2 webinars each month. The second Tuesday, like today, is a topical program. And then Bobby DeMontney, who's with us, is doing tiny tech trainings the last Tuesdays of each month. All of those recordings are in the YouTube channel. And if we want to go on,
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
that's what it looks like. Go to the playlist for the MSL Learn webinar series. And we're always glad to hear more from you. If we want to go to the next slide, this is
Okay.
a link to our evaluation survey. You can click that link or snap that QR code, or share your thoughts on how we're doing at the link that I'm just putting in the chat right now, that evaluation form. We love to hear from you. And then Pam, if you'd like to go to the last slide.
All righty.
This is our contact information. So if you have questions or want to get a hold of us, we would love to hear from you. And I'll be quiet now and just see if there are any more questions.
Any
We
more
have
questions?
a minute left.
I think the important thing to remember as trustees is that there's lots of help available. You don't have to figure everything out yourself, and it does seem overwhelming at first, but take it one step at a time, little bit at a time, one meeting at a time, and we're all here to help you do the best you can for your library, because we want our libraries to be the best that they can.
Thank you so much, Pam. I think that's so important. I'm going to go ahead and close our recording, and then we can stay on for a couple more minutes if anyone has
Sure.
other questions that they want to ask then.